Hey there, welcome. This is the first episode of Bipolar Out Loud. This is a podcast that I thought would be hopefully bring value to the bipolar community. As myself being diagnosed a couple of years ago with bipolar 2, and it's really just that. It's thinking out loud, it's talking about the struggles, the victories, hopefully it's just gonna be a conversation, hopefully, and maybe it'll get to the point where we're interviewing other people or even people who actually support the bipolar community with research and things like that. But really, I just wanted to start this and hopefully get myself out there in the sense of being bipolar and understanding this a little bit more, having a conversation. Hopefully, it's going to be therapeutic for myself and also for yourself. I don't entirely know how it's going to turn out. I don't entirely know the entire format and just the nature of bipolar. I'm not entirely sure at what I can commit to with releasing these episodes. I would love to get to the I would love to get to the point where I am uploading at least once a week, but I think right now I can probably do once a month. So, and I know these aren't going to take too long. I'm not going to edit that much with these. So, I'm going to do once a month for now. And if you actually follow this and you actually watch it and get some value out of it, then I think you might notice that I'm going to be posting a little bit more. So we'll do once a month for now. But again, it could go up and it could go down. That is the nature of bipolar. Now, with this being the first episode, I do want to talk about what it is and just some of the things that I've learned over the past, couple of months specifically. So let's go ahead. I'm going to pull up something right now and look up the definition of bipolar. Good old AI Gemini going to work right now. All right, here we go. The medical definition defined by the DSM-5, which is the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. There's a fifth edition, apparently. Bipolar 1 disorder. This is characterized by at least one manic episode. While major depressive episodes are common and typically occur, they are not actually required for a bipolar 1 diagnosis. Manic episode, the definition of one. A distinct period of abnormally elevated, expansive, or irritable mood and increased energy lasting at least 1 week. Severity. Symptoms are severe enough to cause significant impairment in social or occupational functioning, may require hospitalization, or include psychotic features like delusions or hallucinations. Common symptoms: decreased need for sleep, racing thoughts, inflated self esteem, grandiosity, and engagement in high risk activities. In my experience, so I am diagnosed bipolar 2, but in my experience, what bipolar 1 is an extreme form of bipolar 2. I know that sounds pretty simple, but it's like seeing, oh gosh, what's that movie? Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, I think, is the movie. It's somebody having this insane rise and just psychotic episode of I can do anything and I'm invincible and I'm gonna go on a tirade of banging girls and doing drugs and drinking and with zero what I heard it once before is that it was a lack of a prefrontal development. You cannot you physically, not physically, but you mentally and biochemically cannot function and make logical decisions with your prefrontal cortex to say this is a bad idea, right? That's what I've learned, and that's what I've kind of gathered over the past, specifically a couple of months, and I'll talk more about that in a later episode. But that's what I've really seen that bipolar one is. I have not met somebody with bipolar one. Um, I have never had an episode like that. Hospitalization is a pretty severe one because you will do something extremely stupid that will harm yourself, not in the sense of committing suicide, but in the sense of just like driving crazy, being like the Joker, basically, the Heath Ledger Joker, not the Joaquin Phoenix one. So that's the definition of bipolar one. Let's move on to bipolar two, which is the one that I was so blessed to have. Bipolar 2 disorder, this is characterized by a pattern of depressive episodes and hypomanic episodes, but never a full manic episode. Hypomanic episode, a period of elevated mood and energy that lasts at least 4 consecutive days. Ain't that the truth? Severity. While the change in functioning is noticeable to others, it is not severe enough to cause marked impairment in social or work life, which is just a side note, which is I don't know if that's better or worse because you actually don't realize it and it's hidden. It might be noticeable to others, but those people probably won't tell you, or they just think like that's just a normal thing. So they don't think anything different about it. It's hard to explain. Moving on, does not require hospitalization, thank goodness, and lacks psychotic features, so no hallucinations or delusions or anything like that. Major depressive episode. Unlike bipolar 1, bipolar 2 requires at least one major depressive episode lasting at least 2 weeks for diagnosis. And that's kind of how I came into being diagnosed this. Key differences, bipolar 1 mania 7+ days, at least a week long. Hypomania, which is a little bit milder, about 4 days long. Depression is common in bipolar 1. And depression is required for bipolar 2 diagnosis. Hospitalization, often necessary for bipolar 1, rarely necessary for bipolar 2. Psychosis, very possible with bipolar 1 and not present in hypomania for bipolar 2. So those are the actual DSM definitions of bipolar 1 and 2. Obviously, this episode can be for anybody with bipolar 1. I just don't have an experience with that, or like I said, met anybody with that. But my experience and my diagnosis was bipolar 2. And I wanted to lay that groundwork for you to understand. Maybe you're a loved one or a friend of somebody who is diagnosed bipolar, and hopefully this helps you understand them a little bit more. And for the community, if you're diagnosed with bipolar, I hope this helps you as well. And I don't know where you're at in your journey, how long you've been diagnosed or not. I was diagnosed in my mid 30s. So I've gone, let's say 35 years of undiagnosed. Like I didn't even think that this was different, which is a dangerous place to be in because I didn't even know what to look for, right? And it wasn't something that I was seeing a doctor normally for, that they would even notice something like that, or even a therapist that they would notice something like this and even diagnose it. I just wasn't put in the environment where this could be spotted out. So completely undiagnosed, not misdiagnosed, but undiagnosed, unknown to myself that I was battling with this. And I'll talk about my story a little bit more in later episodes, but I think bipolar 2 is unfortunately a true diagnosis for myself. And when I first got diagnosed, I was a little bit shocked and a little bit in denial. So even after being diagnosed, I I really I was in denial. I didn't really believe it, and I just went about my day, went about my life as normal. And that was a dangerous position to be in also. So, wrapping this up, I really appreciate you listening to the first episode. This is just the groundwork for what it is, what it is not. And also, we're going to be talking about how this stuff kind of shows up in everyday life, in everyday emotions, and how, at least for myself, how I've found ways to manage it. And unfortunately, maybe spot things that how I've mismanaged it in my own life. And hopefully, just like I said, help you understand it more, help you spot it yourself, because ultimately, I think, unfortunately, it is a diagnosis that must be treated with medication, which I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. That's up to your personal beliefs. But I think it definitely can help if you're medicated, but you also have to do the work to manage it. So, we're going to talk more about this. This is what this podcast is all about. And this is the first episode, hopefully one of many. Again, like I said, the very nature of it is going to be ups and downs. Um, and even, and it's so funny, even the start of this could be a sign of mania. Like, that's how inception-ish this type of thing is. Like, if I start anything new, it could be a sign of mania. So, anyways, those are my thoughts. We're going to talk more about all of that stuff, and I want to thank you again for checking in, watching, listening the first episode, and we're going to talk more about this. Guys, this was Bipolar Out Loud. My name is Angelo, and I'll see you in the next one.